brand that fills that gap that Celsius does, but maybe
Coinchange.
Loved it. Let's go. Let's go. Well, listen, I can't think of a better way to start, bro. Let's go. All right, let's do one more. Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Top podcast. We're fresh off of the conference tour, coming back from Austin. I got my man Max, CEO of Coinchange, in the building. Max.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Max, the CEO of Coinchange. Coinchange is an yield aggregation across DeFi on a risk-adjusted basis. So if you want to earn daily compounded, no lockup yield, get your money back at any time you want, right? This is Coinchange. We aggregate only on DeFi, only decentralized. We don't really touch CeFi, lending, trading, or repoification in any way. So deposit $5 or $5 million, right? Earn daily rewards, right? And there is no lockups. Thanks for having me.
Be the change. Let's go.
Exactly. Be the change. Taking Wall Street to the Main Street.
Just a little bit about what I want to accomplish here on the podcast. I think it's really interesting for my audience of talent out there in the crypto space to not only get an understanding of your company, Coinchange, and what they do, but really about you as the founder, because I think it's really important, like company culture. You know, we're talking about all these crypto companies now that are going through some rocky times. I think people gravitate towards people and cultures that, you know, they can trust. So I want to learn a bit about your personal backstory. We know each other pretty well, but not on that level. So why don't you give me the Max origin story? What's your background and how did you get into crypto?
Listen, I'll address your question from the other angle a little bit. So you're talking about the culture, right, and the business and the rocky times, right? So I think it's not only the founder-driven culture, it's usually the first 5-10 people that you hire, right? So, and you only try to hire the people who have the same principles, right? So, and you look at the life principles as well, right? Not only the business principles and the business knowledge and the professional attitude, right, and skill set towards a certain responsibility that you're trying to fill, but also towards the life principles, right? On the rocky times is even more important to have the people you can rely on, right, without looking after your back, right? So meaning that if you know that they will deliver, right, on the professional level, as well as have the same understanding of risk, same understanding of the purpose, right? So the first 5 people in the team, I would say, is the most crucial ones that they're gonna relay and amplify your culture towards their own smaller teams, right, within the business. So my background is, I went to electrical and computer engineering at U of T. So afterwards, I worked at the university for a couple of years with a professor on it was called Virtual Application Network Infrastructure that we designed. I worked at the 3G Capital Fund. It's a public equity fund. I worked for the SAP Consulting. It's a consulting firm out of Germany, SAP, right? So pretty large one. Along the way, I started my own startup. It was called Buffa, B-U-F-F-A. So that was a kind of a Napster for Eastern Europe and China. So pretty much compiling the free links, you know, and the free music around the internet and trying to get them into the music trees and make it very accessible on the web with a nice UI. It was really pretty good startup.
So a crypto company just bought Napster. Did you see that?
No.
Napster with the Web3 twist coming soon.
Yeah, so that business we built, it was about 30,000 uniques a day, you know. But we were like, I was like probably 20, 21, didn't really know what to do with that, you know, how to capitalize on the user base, how to find the funding or someone to actually advise and structure proper monetization models around it. So we left it on sideways and we established a professional services business. So based on that, there was a lot of people that were asking, where did you guys build it? How did you guys develop it? Can you do the same for us? So we kind of pivoted to the professional services business, and I ran that for a couple of years. It still exists, but I'm not really involved at all. It's a business on its own. I'm just a shareholder. And right after that, I ran a small venture fund called BGS Ventures. So we invested in startups at pre-seed and seed stage, right? Mostly like super angels.
And are you living in Toronto at this time? Or
I was living in Toronto at the time. Yeah, I'm originally from Belarus, born in Minsk, right? And then I lived in Italy for a year, UK. I did my A-levels in UK, and then I applied and got accepted to universities in Australia, Canada, US, and UK. So I chose Australia, by the way. I try to get there.
Good choice. I love my Aussie clients. Shout out to all y'all guys.
Australia's great. I thought I can, save on the winter clothes, see some more girls there, right? it never happened, so I went to Canada. And,
Not a bad choice either. Toronto's a good time.
It's a great place right now. Yeah, it was very different back when I came about 15 years back. So yeah, then I ran a fund, as I told you. I invested in startups, and then I did my own 5 startups.
So was the companies you were investing in, were they a lot of based in Toronto? Is that how you first started?
No, listen, I was 24 when we raised the fund, so I thought I knew everything, right? So I knew how to do the due diligence, I knew how to do deal sourcing, so it went pretty fast.
There's only one way to learn, man.
That's right. I mean, you can learn from the books as well, but
I like learning from mistakes.
You know, the last 5%, this is when you learn the most, and this is where you make the most mistakes. You can have your foundation based on the literature and the theory, but the last 5, that's where you make the excellence, right? It happens. So that's the real hands-on work. So with the fund, we had 2 successful investments out of 13. They're still private. One of the companies is called Boxy, Boxy.com, cross-border e-commerce, and the other one is called Transcriptic out of California. So both of them are pretty big businesses right now, but they're still private, so I couldn't raise the new fund, right? Because you need to have disbursements back to your clients, right? So they have to make real cash in the bank. Right now, it's only assets on the balance sheet. So kind of exited that, didn't raise the new fund, went back to professional services, started like building our own startups within that. And then eventually I understood that professional services business and product business kind of live together, completely 2 separate incentives, separate management teams have to be in place. So we spinned out a few of them. One was sold. It was a cannabis seek-to-sale platform that we sell. So out of 5, we sold 1, and this is the 5th startup that I'm doing. And I think that was, at least until recently, the best timing and the best market to be in, right? So
cannabis business?
No, not cannabis. Crypto, right? Cannabis was the one that we sold. It wasn't a big deal. It was acquired by a larger entity out of Switzerland mostly for paper and a bit of cash, but Coinchange started in 2018 as an idea, and 2019 we started actually building the platform. Right, it took us 2 years to take it to market, and we've been paying yield since last summer. Right?
So what's your personal point of entry as far as curiosity in crypto? Like, what was it? Investing? Was it a particular subset niche in the space? Like, just kind of curious, what makes you tick as far as crypto?
No, I would say, listen, so it was my background, right? I did a bit of venture, I did a bit of professional services, I did a bit of startups. I would say you're always looking for the next new thing, right? So you want to be part of the trend. You want to make sure that you not only be part of the trend, you want to really be a trailblazer, right? And it's all like
setting the trend,
like information arbitrage, right? So you know something that other people don't know based on your foundational experiences, right? And you think that you can guess right the market, right, about the trends. So crypto was kind of that for us. I mean, in 2017 when I got in, as everybody else did, right? When I was growing up till 20, and then it was crashing back to 3. The Bitcoin price, I mean, right? So I started buying myself, right? And I had a few guys who were in crypto, friends of mine. They said it's a great business. They're making a lot of money. It seems like it's going to grow. I started looking into that. But for me, I understood more of the technology rather than the gambling aspect of that, because it's like a blockchain. It's pretty much like a new payment rails, right? It's a decentralized ledger.
Sure.
So you transfer me $5 from your bank. Your bank, let's say, is going to debit it. My bank is going to credit it. Both banks are going to report it to the central bank, who keeps the central ledger, right? We'll trust the central bank and our own banks, right? In the Bitcoin world, yeah. I mean, trust. You have to, right?
Right.
Yeah. So in the Bitcoin world with a decentralized ledger, you trust no one, right? So it's all on chain, and everybody validates each other. So it was like pretty cool concept that I thought it was going to work and scale. Pretty much like new fintech payment rails, right? So, but the way to get in is usually into the space is either you build something on the infrastructure side, or you go towards the retail side. And in 2017, when I was trying to get in myself as a consumer, I thought the experience wasn't that seamless for the customer. So the original idea of Coinchange was to build a kind of a TransferWise clone. I don't know if you know Wise.com. These guys are publicly traded in London. Yeah, so they did a very big overlap. Like they pretty much changed the Forex market. So they started offering a web experience if you want to transfer cross-border some payments, and they give you a very transparent fee structure and a very easy calculator. So that's their main thing, right, for the expats. So we want to do the same for crypto. So show you the transparent rate, show you our fee, right, show you the true rate, because there was no true rate in crypto, and there's still a lot of discrepancies. Less in the CeFi world, right, because it's all arbitraged out. So there's more of a true rate right now. But before, you can buy it in Korea and sell it in the US or the other way around and make a good spread, right? So I thought it's better to offer a very transparent experience and give a true rate, aggregating the book from multiple exchanges and giving the customer a very simple calculator to buy and sell from. So that was the original idea, to offer a very seamless, transparent aggregated experience to
And
the
how has the company evolved from that original idea? And I don't want to go too far into Coinchange because I still want to focus on your story a little bit, but I am curious to see where that idea.
Yeah, so when we started that in 2018, right? Like when you're a little later in the game with the startups, like you don't want to really rush through, but you don't want to
Sure.
hold back too much, right? So we started doing some survey analysis. Took us about 6 months, right, to make sure that there's a demand for that. So in 2019, when we started building, we came across a contractor, a data provider, who was who we contracted out,
Mm-hmm.
giving us some CFI data across like Chainlink, pretty much. Chainlink is on-chain data, right, for a lot of pricing
Mm-hmm.
of the assets. There was another one called QSAT, so that they gave us a lot of CFI data from the exchanges. And those guys, right now part of our team, we acquired the business. But back then they pretty much pointed us out into the DeFi world.
Mm-hmm.
In early 2019, they were saying there's something that's going on. Some hedge funds are buying it. Some mostly hedge funds and traders were buying their data from the DeFi side. So they said we might look into that. Might be interesting for you guys if you're going to do some consumer product.
Nice.
There's a new wave that's coming in. It seems like there's a lot of interest on the institutional side. A lot. I mean, they had like 5 clients, let's say, right? But it was something.
They could see.
Yeah,
what
they
was
could
up.
see
They
that
could see
might
what
the
was-
trend, what might
Sure.
be happening, right?
Yeah,
So
for
we started looking at the DeFi in 2019 summer when we
Mhm.
started aggressively developing the product. Much when we bought their business and we bought one other small development company, we decided to pivot away from the brokerage business.
Well, it reminds me
Brokerage
of.
business we never launched. It was still an idea.
Oh,
right?
okay, got it.
So
And so now that became exactly. What
yeah,
it
that
is.
became Coinchange. So it took us 2 years to build it and take it to market. Like we took it to market May last year.
Awesome. Yeah, it reminds me of a podcast that I actually listened to where a guy was talking about investing, and he was kind of asked like, "What is your investment thesis, or what's important in the projects you invest in?" And obviously, always talking about NFTs, and he obviously said first, the utility, but second, he said the team and the talent. He said because I've seen projects that maybe didn't have the best idea, didn't have the best business plan, but they had the right team, and the right team was able to pivot and turn that into the project it was supposed
Listen,
to be.
I'll tell you even more than that. I mean, I think team is primary reason that people invest. I mean, because markets change, right? So I think products change faster than the markets.
Mhm.
Markets also change after the product changes. People never change, right? So if you pick up the right people that have the right principles
Yeah.
and the right dynamics and the right market mindset, right, to actually adopt. That's why people like to invest in the engineers, right? So they have a certain mindset how to actually analyze the problem and find the solution, no matter what the problem is, right? Because market changes all the time.
So how was that? So how was that transitional period? Like, how did that initial team kind of deal with that? Like, walk me through what that felt like.
Listen, we're still pivoting right now, right? So I mean, it's a continuous exploration, especially in the crypto markets that are so demanding and so volatile. So the customer here is has a little attention span, and usually those customers have a little. They haven't a lot of invested loyalty into the asset itself. Let's say the Bitcoin asset, right? There's a lot of hodler community that's big, right?
Hodler community,
right? But overall, in terms of the CFI products, people have less less friction to change and switch, right? So that's what the CFI world is building, making sure that people can get access, right, to anything they want to. So from Coinbase, let's say going to FTX, from FTX going to Coinchange, it's not really hard. It takes you 2 minutes to download the app, right, and verify yourself if it's a compliant access. So I think we're continuously evaluating the data, continuously talking to our customers. But the main thing that we do is yield, right? So for us, it's pretty easy. It's the way how you give access to that yield. So originally when we started, it was a retail product, right? So retail mobile app and web app. So we were top 10 fintech app in US, and for a couple of months, November, December, we hit like 100,000 registered customers. We got like 50,000 KYC customers. We're adding 5,000 customers a day, like last year in November, December. So retail wave pretty much, I would say, died out in February. So people weren't that crazy searching and looking for earned product or exchange product. So we launched our corporate side of the business, offering corporate treasury, right? So if you're a startup that just raised capital and you have, I don't know, 10 million USDC on your wallet, why stay with Coinbase or Binance? Why not earn in that like 9 points right a year, 9% a year? So move it to Coinchange when there is no lockup. There is no strings attached. There's full liquidity on the chain all the time of your assets, and pay your OPEX, right? Your salaries, and just keep the money there, right? And paying out whatever you need to pay at what time you need to pay, because there is no lockups. So we started offering that, get a good uptick in the AUM through corporates, and right now a few other corporates were asking like, shit, this is working. You guys actually paying daily. This is beautiful. Can we offer that product to our customers? Right. So we started developing the API to provide segregated accounting for an app that wants to sell our product on their UX.
But how did the team adapt to this? Like, what did that feel like from a people perspective as all these changes? You know, because you have one idea and everyone's committed to it at a certain point, and then you have to go back to the whiteboard. Like, what do those meetings feel like?
Listen,
I've never sat in one.
I think this is more of the like this is good and easy transition when it's more of the natural progression when markets are good. Like the hard part to adopt is like when everybody's firing right now, right?
Sure.
So that's a hard part when you actually have to decide who, why, and when.
Right.
You're gonna fire, right? You're gonna do it in one shot, or you're gonna take steps and stages, and like that's a lot of about the mentality of the team, right? That's at stake, and you want to make sure that your like commanders, your managers, right, your people you co-founded the business with, know how to handle that properly within their teams as well. So I think that's hard. But when you're actually adopting from the client demand side, it's not really so hard because it's hard. You don't want to really pivot too much, right, from your original value and value proposition product. But for us, it's simple. It's like the same financial product. It's the same yield product. You just go either directly to the customer, you go to directly to a business, or you go B2B2C, right, through a distributor that you share the revenue for. So it's just different go-to-market rather than a different product.
It was just like a new mountain to climb, a new thing. Yes. But same conceptually, your business was still not pivoting from.
No.
Got it. That makes sense.
No, we did one pivot from brokerage to yield, right? It was early days when it was still in the idea and napkin size, right? And we did the right thing because brokerages and exchanges, it's a very convoluted market, right? So it's a race to the bottom on the fees, right? So everybody has to cut fees, provide everything for free. That's what I'm saying that the client is demanding in crypto, right? So they have very little loyalty to the platform and they want everything for free. So they have a lot of loyalty to the asset, right? Let's say if you have your own token,
right,
you have a loyal community. We don't have a token, right? So if you have a token, you have a loyal community that wants to grow your community, grow your value of the business because they have pretty much your shareholders on the chain, right? What is a token? It's a shareholder base that's managed on blockchain, right?
Absolutely.
You have an equity holder base that's managed by the lawyers and paper. You have a blockchain shareholder base. So those guys definitely advocating for you. They want you to succeed, so they're very loyal towards the product, right? While
they're on a mission.
They're on a mission. But otherwise the clients are looking for the best value they can get, especially for free, right? So that's why we have free service, right? So for us as well, like nothing is free. Right, so we used to say there's no fees, but I mean, how do we make money? That's the question. But there is no fees, right? So and we take a cut from whatever we make with the customer. So you're our customer. Let's say, as an example, we will generate 12% yield. We'll pass you 9. We'll take 30 points, right? So that's why it's free.
All right. Want to bring it back to you for one more question, and then we can move past it. But you touched on like some early mistakes that you made in your journey pre-crypto. You know, when I'm working with early stage crypto companies, I often look at the founders, and one thing that I tend to analyze is how are they going to scale this? Have they built and scaled something before? It seems, you know, some of these founders are very young kids, and this is like their first venture in business. For you, you've been through it, you've learned a few things. What would you say along the way have you learned that's been very helpful in this new space?
Listen, especially in crypto, because this is people's money, right? So you're dealing with people's money. You have to have a certain principles and responsibility ethics.
Absolutely.
Right? Towards the capital that you attract from the others, either through a token sale or directly, right, as they call them transfers, deposits, right, to the full honesty, right, from the customers. So in crypto space, I think that's one of the fundamental issues right now. A lot of people got rich too quick, you know, and got successful too fast. So they still go, you know, and they're like last man standing on the party, you know, fucking 5 a.m. and they're still there, right?
We've all been there,
going all in, right? So yeah, it's kind of I think the process of evolution as well, right? It's like investment bankers used to do, you know, 20 years back, right? And early 2000s when there was a lot of cash flowing around.
Good times.
Yeah. But there's then I think it kind of matures, you know, through different cycles. So I think it's important for sure, to your point, having experienced managers and founders, or at least the team. The founder can be young, right, with an idea and with the execution, right, with the original proof of concept and MVP. Then he actually assembles the team, and usually it happens when they get some VCs on board. those guys bring the other VCs, and they kind of structure your board, structure your governance.
Yep.
That's why people have more trust towards like a VC-backed products. But again,
100%.
Again, Terra was VC-backed, right, as well. So
it's not an exact science.
At the time of
at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the founder, just like you said.
Lies with the team, and then when there's too much liquidity out there, right? So people might not do a proper due diligence and just follow the lead.
Mm-hmm.
The lead might follow the instinct as well, right? Or an overall business plan and the future projections, the future promise of a story, rather than today's reality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to your point, I think it's very important to have experienced founders. More important to have some not only technology leaders but also finance leaders come together and form the businesses.
100%.
Because there's a lot of, like, let's say in our business, I know the big issue and it takes a lot of time is like reconciliation, corporate side accounting, client side accounting. We're going through the audit right now, so that takes.
Shout out to Roger. Shout out to Roger who introduced us.
Here we go. Here we go. Yep. So we have a lot of financial. We have a lot of people with a financial background, right, who can actually, let's say, embed controls into the business rather than like wild west crypto guys, right? We are even position ourselves more like less crypto, more than fintech, right? And I think that's important for the industry to mature it and at some point have more.
Right, more than just
a tech founder and a blockchain enthusiast.
100%.
But some senior team around him.
So from like a human perspective, how would you kind of characterize your management style? Like, how do you view your organization? And I guess from a pure human capital management style, what have you learned from your past that you've brought into this new space?
So we're still small, right? We have like 80 people on the business.
That's
right?
a lot more than many crypto companies out there.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot less than many others too, right? So
Sure.
I think it's like a mid-size, small-size business, still SMB. All right, so when you're that size, you cannot really, even like, I would say when you're like, there's a threshold when you're like at 35, 40 people, you still know everybody, you still talk to everybody, you still incentivize everybody, right? And you still allocate your time and focus effectively, but you're still able to allocate 10% of your time, let's say, to talk to the rest of your team. Right now, when you're past 40 and you're starting to scale, let's say on the customer support base, on the financial operations back office base, you don't really talk to every accountant or every customer success person you have on the team.
You can't.
Right? Yeah. So because of your focus, because of your limited time, right? So my way to manage overall is I try to rely on people more than controls. So we manage by the numbers as well, right? To a certain degree, there's definitely performance metrics and KPIs that the team has to hit. But for majority of that, there is no day-to-day management from my side or oversight on what the deliverables are, right? And I would incentivize them to make mistakes, right? Not only them, but their own people that they hire. So let's say, as an example, I don't know, in marketing, right? If you're responsible for the events and
good marketing team
for the events and partnerships, would rather have you been fully responsible for that than somebody else to underwrite your decisions, right? And take the responsibility off your shoulders. So you deliver, and then you actually evaluate if it's a good user acquisition funnel, right? Or I don't know, brand awareness funnel. And if it's not, you'll come back and you'll readjust yourself, right? And keep learning forward. Not like the other way around when the CMO or CEO is going to tell you, okay, you have to make the event happen, go and print some banners, right? So you'll do everything yourself, picking up the event, picking up the budget, picking up the ROI, picking up the partners, going through from the beginning until the very end and tracking the progress on that and then reflecting on your decisions.
And is that because you hire people that you trust and you know that even if they make a mistake, it'll be a net gain in the long run because they'll learn how to do it better next time.
Yeah, even if it's not net gain, you don't want your management to continuously babysit their team because it's impossible to scale, right? So you want to make sure you can scale with people that you can rely on in terms of the execution and delivery, right? If they cannot learn after a few
iterations,
bad experiences, right? Let's say, right, they could have done much better. Then you fire those people. You find the right ones, right? Who's going to fit in. So, but you cannot manage by click up or continuously being evaluating every text or every message or every decision that's been taken on the people side. Because yes, you can strategize and you can embed your future and where you want to be in terms of the vision, right, through your management.
Absolutely.
But then there is also a trickle down effect. So you don't want them to be fully overseeing and validating every step of their own teams, right, at every point of time. So if the people don't want to take responsibility, if the people don't want to take ownership of the process, you have to find the other people.
So you said that 80 is a low number for you. So how do you see Coinchange scaling over the next 6 months to a year? Obviously, market conditions are going to make that potentially a little difficult. But how do you see Coinchange scaling further than that?
Listen, it's I don't think it's about I don't think it's about employee number. Right? It's not about the team size. It's more about like how many customers can you service, right?
Sure.
With that team, right? Revenue per person, right? And revenue per employee, pretty much. So I think 70, 80 is right now that if we stay within those ranges, it's a decent size of the
Pretty
team.
solid.
So we can service probably 5 times more user base. We can generate. I think we have room for growth. So right now we even we were pretty aggressive right now in terms of the marketing, in terms of the user acquisition, even though the markets are down, right? It's again about your efficiency. When you're more effective when you're 40 people than you are 400,
Totally.
you are 400 because you have less management involved, right? And,
Everyone's in sync.
yeah,
obviously.
everyone knows what needs to be done, and everybody doesn't really need any approvals, or there's no politics involved at
Right,
all, right?
right.
When you're 80, you're already starting to feel that friction a little bit, but again, our majority of our team is on the product side. Like, it's a little easier for us. We have about 50 people on the product side right now across the DeFi and application team. Then there's a security team as well. I think 50 is with the security and application and DeFi team altogether. So the rest is the other 30 is marketing, financial operation, compliance, and customer success, and a bit of a business development. So I would say it's a good sized team to keep the product roadmap moving at the pace we want, and servicing those clients we have. And right now we pivoted a little bit towards more of the corporate side of the client base rather than the retail, because retail, I think we have a bit of a brand right now, and there's top 3 channels for us to acquire the customer is direct, then organic, and referrals.
So let's talk a little bit about the marketing and branding side of things, because I know you're extremely good at that. I see you on the conference tour at every stop, and I want to talk a little bit about how you manage your brand, and what results you've seen come from being the face of the operation and doing what you're doing out there.
Yeah, listen, so marketing is a fine line, because when you're a financial service, you want to make sure that you have that brand and trust primarily, right? At the same time, you're in crypto, right? So you don't want to really be too traditional and too
buttoned up.
Buttoned up, exactly. So as an example event in Miami that we did, right? We brought in our team, and it was a great experience. We had a lot of
one of the best events of Bitcoin Miami. Easy.
Yeah. It's at the end of the conference on Friday, we had a large party with the Maxim magazine, Hyde Hotel, and Coinchange. We invited 300 customers of ours and partners. Dan was one of them. He can attest to that. So there was like mermaids in the pool,
It was amazing.
fireworks. I don't know. Yeah, it was like a crazy.
All the bartenders with the Coinchange shirts.
The Coinchange shirts, right? Everything was. There was a show. There was entertainment. There was drinks. There was girls, right? So
it was crazy, because that was the night of that Circle Mansion party that was such a disaster, and everyone couldn't get into. So there was like tons of important people flocking around the streets looking for a good time. And here comes Coinchange, and then for the next couple weeks, I've never heard Coinchange name floating around so much. So well played. So I'm really curious, like, how that worked out for you. What were the spillovers?
So exactly right. So that event kind of set a stage a bit, right? For the next. We were already a pretty good business by that time, but afterwards we started more of the, like relationships pretty much with the people like you, right? Yeah. Like we have a Bitfarms founder, we have like BCB Group founder, right? So we know like a lot of good people in the space who are big businesses, right? And we introduced ourselves maybe through the event, but mostly from the follow-ups that we did. We showed the product, right? And we actually buttoned up afterwards, right? And saying, okay,
that's
guys,
how you play it, yeah.
This is what we do, right? Because this is the fine line when you want to show that you're not really like a Wild West crypto startup, but you're also doing your audits.
You have substance.
Yeah, you have substance. Yeah. You have the product. You have a real financial team behind it. So I think it did provide quite a bit of a foundation for us in terms of the corporate growth with the corporate clients. But Consensus is last week, right? It was also pretty good. It was a very different environment. It's more like an industry expo, right? When there's only B2B interaction and everybody was in a smaller settings, right? There's no Miami type venues when you have like 600, 700 people, around the pool. It's all like more of the dinners and lunches and small environments. So it was also pretty good. I mean, we haven't really set up any parties there. We were thinking about one, but afterwards decided to take it easy. I mean, this time as a winter, right? So everybody wants to talk business, show me the numbers, and
sure.
I think that was a very good follow-up to the
Check
Miami
the
event.
temperature, read the room.
Exactly. It was a very good follow-up after the Miami event because a lot of those guys had their own booths as well at Consensus, and we went to see our customers and clients. We've been invited for dinners this time, right, and talking to them where we're at right now and how they're happy. You've been using our product since then.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for just being on the scene, in the room.
Yeah.
And if you throw one of those events and it goes over well, I feel like you're received as if you understand the culture of crypto. You understand the community.
Exactly.
You understand the ethos that the rest of the community gets, and that's why you guys are gonna have fun in the same party, right?
You're like the same DNA, right?
But exactly. That's what that is. That's a subconscious kind of underlying meaning, right?
Exactly.
And then you button up and put on the tie if you need to go to your investors meeting. But that's awesome. So happy to hear that worked out well for you. And I think it's just interesting for everyone to know like how that can kind of increase your visibility.
I think to your point about the marketing. Like, I'm not really like a sole believer, of the founder-driven brand, right? So there's always a team behind you,
Absolutely.
right? Team behind me, and I think everybody has to get credit, right? And I think anybody should feel ownership, right, and be advocating for the brand, right? So obviously the founder has to be on the floor, like as you're saying. I'm on every event. I talk to everybody who comes to me, right? We're very open. We want to be there, very humble. Right, so that's part of the ethos as well in the industry. You have to do it.
You're humble when you need to be. I've seen.
Yeah. So I think we are right now. What we do is, well, like, let's say AMA sessions that we host like every week. Right now, we get our CPO on the stage. We get our chief technology officer. We get our research in person. So I don't want to be the only like driver of the brand, right? So I know and I believe and I know so that a lot of our management and I would say my co-founders, those guys, they do believe in the business for sure, and they advocate on a daily basis, and they're fine being on camera, and they do everything they can do to make sure that the brand gets the trust it deserves, right? And even today, our business, 75% of our business is owned by insiders, right? So it's employees, it's management, it's co-founders, right? It's me, it's the early friends and family investors.
Absolutely.
Right. So
that's why I wanted to have you here talking about those people, talking about the culture, and talking about the talent that has built this company and is this brand. So glad you got a chance to highlight that.
Yep.
All right. So listen, Max, we're going through obviously an interesting time here. As you came in today, I was just reading an article about another 1,000 layoffs at Coinbase. Yesterday was BlockFi. So clearly, it seems like we're going into a crypto winter. What are your thoughts on the trend we're seeing in the market right now, and how is Coinchange going to brace itself and prepare for the next 6 months to a year?
So I think the main change in the market right now is, before the winter, it was all like take over the world, right? So let everybody have access, democratize wealth management, right? Democratize access to wealth or to crypto or to take over the world. That's the message. Right now, I think a lot of those guys, especially public ones like Coinbase, right? So
when you say take over the world, you're speaking to the bravado and confidence of all these companies?
I'm speaking about the message to the investors for the most part, right? And the overall vision and positioning of the business, right? So you burn more than you make.
Okay.
Right? So you're not profitable. You're losing money continuously, and it's fine.
Because you know
that you need to get a market share.
Understood.
Right? Kind of winner takes it all, but I mean, there's like 5 winners at the end of the day with the market, and you go global. Right, so that's kind of the market when you have a lot of liquidity, when you have a lot of belief in an asset class or in a category. So right now, obviously, what happens right now, the investors and the market is saying, okay, can you guys even be profitable? Can you guys break even? Can you guys show us the numbers, right? So, and a lot of those founders have to take action to trim the fat. Right, meaning that they have to optimize their OPEX, they have to optimize an efficiency that they have. Because when you grow too fast, too short, you have a lot of things that you don't need. Like it's good to have, not must have, right? So I think right now is the time when they want to show their investor base that they are aiming to become profitable. They're aiming to break even. They're aiming for efficiency. They're aiming for long-term winter, right? And even if it's not, they're going to be in the position to grow, right? So I think that's kind of the main message everybody's sending, right? And maybe some people spend too much, too fast on endorsements, on sponsorship deals, right? That they're locked up for right now, right? It doesn't mean that it's going to hurt their balance sheet. It means that they maybe emotionally did a lot of things that might have waited for, right? But I mean, again, they grew fast. They grew too fast. At a good market, you take advantage of the market. Sometimes everybody has their own different risk profiles, right? Some people like to grow slow, even in a fast market, because they think they know the market is going to turn around, and they don't want to time it.
Or you just don't want to. Sometimes you just don't want to bite off more than you can chew, and sometimes like sustainable growth, even if it's slower, is a better.
You look like at the European startups. A lot of European startups are growing organically, like Wise that I mentioned before. Wise around and traded in London, but it took them 10 years to become $8 billion business, right? To $10 billion business they are right now. So there's another one, Stripe, right?
Yep, for sure.
$100 billion business as well, right? Crushing it and growing and making money, profitable. So there's a lot of, but again, there's another ones that are not so good, but I think there's different mentalities. Like there's a Silicon Valley mentality in the U.S., right? So
which is just go for it,
grow at all costs, right? And because there's a lot of growth in the market for sure, still to happen. I mean, we spoke today about the DeFi markets, and there's still less than 1% of the TradFi. So there's a lot of value that will move from traditional markets into the DeFi markets, decentralized peer-to-peer bases, right? That are more effective. So definitely there's a lot of growth. It's just a matter of fact how fast you want to achieve that. And in the US, the usual message is like, okay, grow as fast as you can, right? Because a lot of those startups were subsidized early on, right? Subsidized the growth, right? So for us right now, we did originally grow pretty fast in November, December, as I told you, right? A lot of registrations, a lot of funded accounts. But right now in February or March, we started pivoting towards more of the corporate side, offering this treasury services for our corporate clients who can move crypto, earn daily. And right now we launched Yield as a Service product, just right on time. It was not planned. It wasn't planned for the winter. It wasn't planned for the downturn. It was just planned as a product roadmap. So Yield as a Service is the product that enables other startups to integrate our Yield product into their UX.
Nice.
Right? So their clients can use
What's an example? Give me an example.
Like we have a few customers. One of them is a neobank. The other one is an exchange. Okay. So in a neobank, they're going to have another account called High Yield account or Earn account.
Earn yield with Coinchange on ours.
Yeah, so their customers can move it in and earn yield on their UX.
Nice.
Right? They're going to have one account with us, but we're going to have a tree of their customers, so a segregated account, and report on every of their customers.
Awesome.
Right? So that's a fast way to the AUM through a single vendor, single distributor, single partner that already has clients and assets on their platform. So that's where we're going right now. We're going towards more of the B2B and corporate offering, right? Because the retail right now, obviously, with all the Celsius, Terra, and other debacle that's happening on the market, has little trust in the DeFi market and in the yield products. While corporates, they still don't understand that, and they have their relationship with those customers.
So if the retail user trusts the corporate partner, corporate brand that you're partnered with.
Let's say Revolut, right? Yeah. So if Revolut has their customers, they trust Revolut, they've been with them for 5 years, and they're like, okay, right now Revolut has an earned product that's offered on their platform, I should try it. Right?
Got it. And that's a good way to brand yourself within that user base, and then you can kind of expand that way.
Exactly.
Finally, I got it. All right, cool. So I guess, do you have any other hot takes about the current winter that we're gonna go through, and how you think we're gonna come out of this?
So I think we're gonna come out of this stronger than like it's any financial cycle, right? It's not only crypto, right? It happened to equity markets historically, right? There's multiple downturns, and this is not a crypto winter. This is a financial meltdown, right? So equity markets are down. Bond markets are down, everything is down, right? So real estate market is affected as well. So I won't say this is solely crypto winter like 2017.
Okay.
Right? So we're already integrated into the financial markets right now as a crypto industry. So I believe that this learning and for overall market As before, there's going to be new regulation. So after 2008, there was 3 regulatory pacts that came to place to make sure there's going to be no restructured mortgages as it was before. So this time there's going to be other regulation that's going to come to crypto, that's going to come to traditional financial sector. And I think the winners are going to take a lot of capital because there's still a lot of dry powder sitting around. So A16Z raised $4.5 billion.
Sure.
Right. There is a Huobi fund that just was launched $1 billion. So there's a lot of capital sitting around and waiting to be deployed. So there's going to be just less businesses who are going to qualify and survive for the next 6 months. That will take a lot of money to scale and rebuild the new, not rebuild, but I mean, pivot and support the growth of the new cycle.
Understood. So I guess last question from an investing perspective. I know it's obviously an opportunity to make some money in a bear market. What would you say are some smart plays? What are you looking at from an investment perspective?
Right now, people that I know are starting to look back into the equity markets right now. Especially, I would say Coinbase would be a good buy as well. I mean, from my perspective, they have $4 billion on the balance sheet just on their own cash, right? And they are treated at, I think, $10 billion, so like double the cash they have pretty much, right? So great buy. And then there's a lot of other businesses that are affected just because of the psychological off-risk towards a certain category, right? And if you can find those picks, the equities are great to buy. I mean, I will also say that indexes are not bad. So equity markets would be a good purchase, I think. I'll wait another month maybe, but overall I believe it won't go down another 20-30%. It won't. I think from this point where we're at right now. In terms of crypto, I would say that Bitcoin, I mean, I usually average out I usually keep buying every month, right, no matter the price. So that's my approach. I don't really try to time the market, but I mean, if you are trying to time the market, now is the time. I mean, like how low can it go? It's like maybe it'll go down to 10, but I mean, okay, if you believe it's gonna go back up to 100, like how does it make a difference if you buy it 15 or 10, right? When you believe it's gonna go back to 100. And right now, if you look at the data, right, on chain as well, a lot of hodlers are still holding, not selling. So there is so you understand the volume on Coinbase and major exchanges fell down about 50%. So trading volumes fell down about 50%, right? But the 75% of all the holders are still holding the asset. They're not selling the Bitcoin. So I would say the Bitcoin Ether is really good opportunity, right? And a lot of other coins I just don't know. I'm not really buying in, like Cardano, Solana. They're great platforms, great ecosystems for sure. If you want to buy in, I would say the next couple of months would be the best time to do that.
Interesting. Right. Hey, before we wrap up, I actually got one other question. Since I don't have many guests that are familiar in Eastern Europe doing business out there, so what are the trends geographically that maybe I should be paying attention to if I'm sourcing talent in Europe? Like, is there anything interesting, any interesting trends out there that I should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a few things, right? So we had our team, our development team, like majority, or I would say maybe like around 20 people of our product team was spread out across Ukraine, Russia, and Belarus right before the war started, 24th of February. So we had to relocate. So we have our Warsaw office as well, right? Alex that you met, he runs the office there. So we had to. It was pretty easy to relocate the people from Belarus and Ukraine because there was no visa requirements. So Warsaw completely opened up, as well as for Russian citizens who wants to come in, they have to apply for it. It's called like an IT visa. We were on the top. We were in the special list that can actually issue you an invitation, and you can get all your family to Poland, right, very easily without any bureaucracy.
That's awesome.
You get it like in 10 days, pretty much a visa for all the family. Move in, we'll take care of you. You set up in the office, we help you rent.
That's great.
So I think that kind of a wave when definitely war is a very bad thing to happen to the population anywhere in the world, right? So I mean, we're helping Ukraine, by the way, doing some initiatives we launched an NFT marketplace called Goodness Army, and every sale, 95% of every sale goes to the wallets of the government to support, let's say, kids, women, who lost their husband. Yeah, so
be the change. I see you.
Yeah, be the change. That's our slogan. Time to change, be the change. Right?
Love it. Living it.
Yeah, and we say yield is not it's not about the yield. It's about the lifestyle.
I like be the change.
Yeah. But yield, lifestyle means like you don't have to work for your money works for you.
Ah, okay.
Right? So yield it's not about the yield, but it's about the lifestyle. So you have like your yield assets will yield for you, so you can support your living, right?
Nice.
Better living that you
love it.
Like the better living that you have, right? as a customer,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can level up a little bit. So talent flew from Russia, Ukraine, obviously, and Warsaw, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Turkey, Dubai was the top 4 places that gained the most. So I mean, real estate prices went up, talent came in, relocations happened from the business perspective, right? Like, so you pay taxes in those new jurisdictions. So I would say, like, for us, it was really, really good timing as well, because we had this opportunity to actually offer visas for the full families, right? We had the infrastructure to bring them in, get them the condos, whatever, right? They want to live in the apartments. So we grew quite substantially, and the people were just getting any pay that they can get. They just wanted to be with a good business that can take care of them, majority on their day-to-day lives rather than even the paycheck. So like,
And the yield is just the cherry on top.
Yeah. I mean, but no, yield has nothing to do with it. I mean, our employees use our platform, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So when they came in, let's say it's a senior data, I don't know, head of data at Sberbank, as an example. Sberbank, the largest bank in Russia, one of the largest banks in the world as well, right? So, and their head of data, let's say, is not happy what's going on in Russia. He wants to leave. So he sends the resumes around, and it gets to us because we can issue a visa for his family. And he doesn't care about money. There's so much money that he doesn't really care. He just wants to change the environment where he lives in, right? And have like freedom of speech, freedom of movement, access to certain goods that he might not have there. So you offer him something very low as a base and some good future options to have, and he comes in.
Amazing.
Right? Not our use case, but I mean, we had a lot of people like that we cherry picked as well from different jurisdictions: Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, primarily.
And I'm kind of curious on, like, from my perspective, like, how to engage with these people, the types of people in this area of the world that would take these crypto engineering technical jobs. Like, how do you manage the different people from the different countries?
So on the management perspective, I mean, it's really hard to mix. Let's say we tried mixing. We had some development team in Japan. We had development team in France, and we had development team in Eastern Europe, right? So our CTO speaks Russian. He's Canadian, like, since he was 10 years old, but fortunately he didn't lose the language. So for definitely in terms of the management, right, it's definitely easier for him and for them to understand that, right?
Sure.
Rather than he's going to be working with the Indians, let's say, in Mumbai, right? A little different.
Another
culture,
communication style.
A little different language, right? Even though we have a development team in Canada as well, right? Because he speaks obviously English. He's been in Canada since he was 10. But we couldn't work, let's say, with the team from Japan,
right?
Because it's a different approach to management, different approach to responsibility, so and ownership of their deliverables. So not only the language is the problem. The problem is like cultural work environment that they're raised in, and attitude towards the responsibilities and like hierarchies of the management. We don't have a hierarchy of the management, right? So we're all kind of a flat structure. That's what we're trying to be.
But even in that,
right?
you need someone to manage the team who directly has lived through the culture.
Yes.
There's just no other way to do that.
But let's say in Japan they have a very hierarchical culture, so they won't argue with the superior, let's say, right? So in Eastern Europe, they will argue. That's all about like arguments, right? So like Israelis as well, we have a lot of guys in Israel who are working for us. They always argue as well.
Wow.
They always find a better way how to do things. Right? Let's say we work with the Indian team. They like to follow instructions because they're afraid of any repercussions of something being wrong. So they usually follow instructions, not asking questions. And then at the end of the day, they understand that something might have been wrong, but then they explain you at the end what they do to fix it. Right. So it's also different management style, different responsibility, ownership, right?
That's super interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's why I think it's important to pick up a certain approach, right? And then scale based on that. Like if you have your first 10, 15 engineers in the team from the different aspects, like let's say architecture, DevOps, backend, right, mobile, and then they can grow within. Right?
Well, it ultimately comes down to what I think is an important concept in working in crypto period is you have to understand how to meet people in their comfort zone, and that's, as a manager, that's how you get the most out of people, is when you make them feel comfortable, and then you just maximizing productivity, right?
Yeah, like we're distributed, right? Fully distributed. We have office in Toronto, we have office in LA, right, and Warsaw, but a lot of people work from home, right? So how do you make sure they work, right? So like old environment was everybody comes to the office, everybody sees each other, and he has a screen open, so he's doing something, right? How do you make sure they work? How do you make sure they work effectively? So it's only based on culture and belief in the brand, right, and the business, and something that you think is valuable for the end customer, right? So it's a little easier for us to incentivize our people to work at the highest efficiency because they know there's customers every day who's using the app, right? And they know those customers are happy because even today I got about 4 emails from customers saying, thank you guys, you letting us withdraw was no problem. I love the product. I tried withdrawing, I put the money back, just checking, always support there, always the emails. He has a manager he can talk to anytime. So this is nice, right? People like praise the business. They say thank you. I had like $200,000. The guy had $200,000 there. He said like,
that's the underestimated part
of my yield, right? So and then I share this email with some of the team, and they're like, shit, this is great. We'll love
because you don't want to keep that to yourself because it's not.
So and then that's how you incentivize them. They feel 100%. Ownership and they feel the real impact on the life of someone. So even when he's home alone and I'm not sure that he's working, I know he's thinking about the business.
Right.
I know he might have an idea tomorrow. He comes back to me, right? So I want him to think about the business at all time, not only 9 to 5.
Because you want him to be like emotionally invested, personally invested.
Exactly. In the brand.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Well, I couldn't agree more, and that's a great place to wrap. I want to thank you so much for coming through. I want to shout out to my man Roger again from Singapore. Appreciate you making this happen. It's crazy that Roger found me off of the first episode of my podcast, and here we are wrapping up another one of Off the Top. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
See you next conference.